Hi. In this video, we'll demonstrate how to implement session-based authentication for our Chrome extension using a Django web app. This means that users can log in once to the backend Django web app, and then they will be authenticated within the Chrome app. Now we'll give a quick demo of the final application so you know where we're going. So this is the Django web app, and this is our Chrome extension here. So you can see right now when I click the Chrome extension, it just takes us to the login page and says error. So the user view is not returning a logged in user. But now once we log in, now you can see when I click the Chrome extension, we get a 200 response from the new user view. So the user is currently logged in. Now we've set the cookie expiration time to 10 seconds. So after 10 seconds, the user will have to log in again. Now for your app, you would obviously set this to be much longer. I've set it to a short time for demonstration purposes. Okay, now we'll give a quick overview of a couple different authentication methods. We will talk here about session-based authentication and authentication using JSON Web Tokens, or JWT, pronounced JWT. So first we'll start off with session-based authentication. So here we have two swim lanes, login and authorize requests. So when the user logs in from the front end of the Django app, they will send their username and password to the server, and the server will create a session ID and add a new row to the session table, and then send that session ID back to the front end. Their session ID is stored as a browser cookie. You can see right here, once we're logged in, we have this new session ID cookie in our browser. Next, we have this authorized request swim lanes. So now whenever the Chrome extension sends a request to the Django server, we include this session ID cookie, and this will authorize the user to make those requests on the server. So the front end sends the cookie to the server. The server looks up that session ID in the session table, and if it's found, it returns the session data to the server, and then the server returns the response data to the Chrome extension. So the benefits of session-based authentication are its simplicity in implementation and management. It just takes a few lines of code in a Django app, and you have server-side control over the session, so you can revoke access at any time. Next, we'll look at JWT authentication. So now here we have kind of similar flow and login. From the front end Django, the user sends their username and password to the server, and a access and refresh tokens are created using a secret key. Notice there's no server-side table. We simply validate the access tokens. And then similarly, the access and refresh tokens are stored in a cookie, which is sent to the front end. So now each time the Chrome extension makes a request, it includes the access token in the request, and that's how the user is authenticated. The access token is verified using the secret key on the server. So now access tokens are short-lived and refresh tokens are longer-lived. So once the access token expires, or really anytime it's invalid, the application will try to use the refresh token to obtain a new access token. And then that access token would be used to send to authenticate requests in the server. So scalability isn't an issue as no session data is stored on the server. But there is complexity in token management, and it requires careful handling because of token storage and expiration. Okay, now let's get into implementation details. So in this section, we're going to create a Django app to handle authentication and then connect a Chrome extension to that Django app. So in this piece, we're going to assume you know the basics of Django development. So right now we're starting from an empty folder in VS Code, and we're going to build a Django app from scratch. So I'm just going to paste these commands in here. So this is creating a virtual environment, installing Django into that virtual environment, calling some Python commands to create the boilerplate Django code, and then creating a super user, which I'm adding the credentials for now down here. Okay, so Now this app uses the main libraries we're using for authentication are DJ REST Auth and Django All-Auth. So we're going to install those libraries into our virtual environment. There are a few settings we need to add, which we're going to go through here. So these are added to installed apps in settings.py. Django auth and message is already in there in the standards, so we're not adding those. Adding some middleware for all auth. Oop, got that too. Okay, and then we're going to add all these settings to the bottom. So these are all of our authentication settings, and we'll discuss just a few of them here, but in the blog post, there are more details. So yes, these are all the new ones we've added. So session cookie, this should be set to true in production, which means that the cookie will only be sent over HTTPS. Since this is dev, I have it to false. And this HTTP only is an important setting. So it's much more secure to set this to true. And so this says to send the cookie in the headers of HTTP requests. If this is false, then the cookie values or your access tokens would be available in JavaScript by running document.cookie. And this can be a problem because hackers could inject malicious code into your website. The other piece, session cookie age. So I set this is in seconds. I set it to 10 seconds just for demonstration purposes, but this is how long a user session lasts before they have to log in again. Okay, so now we have those settings added, and then we need to run the migrations for the new code we've added. Okay, and now we're going to add a home view that requires the users to log in and use that for testing. So we'll go into core, views, and add that here. And then we just need to add the URL paths for these new views that we've added, and we'll add these in the session Chrome app settings. And then we also need the libraries associated with them. Okay, and then that's actually it for our Django app. We will call this user view, which we've added here in our Chrome extension, but that will be called directly from the Chrome extension. So now I just want to give just a quick demonstration to show how the cookies are stored and to show that this is working. So I'm going to run the server. All right, and then I'm going to go to localhost. Oop, I don't want to do that. All right, so you can see that I tried to go to the home page and it logged me out. So now it's asking me to log in, and I can go to my request, I can see the cookies. So there's no session ID sent here. Each time you send a session request, you can view it here, and you can see there's no session ID now. But once we log in, so we've logged in, we're authenticated, we're gonna reload it. So you can see now we have this session ID. So this is sent in the headers of the request, which you can also see here, session ID. And this is used to validate for the Django app. And then once 10 seconds is up, then the user's logged out. And if you go back into cookies, that session ID cookie is gone because it will delete that row from the session table when the user tries to log in. Okay, so that's it for the Django app. Now we're going to walk through how we can send authenticated requests to our Django app from the Chrome extension. So first, we're just going to pull the Chrome extension from GitHub and move it into this folder, the demo Chrome extension. So I'll copy the folder there. So now we have the Chrome extension. So now we're going to go to Chrome.extensions, and we're going to load this extension. So we have the Chrome extension. So we select it and load all the files. So now the Chrome extension is loaded, and next we're going to pin it here. So we pin it, and then when we click on it, it will activate it. And since we're not logged in, it will ask us to log in. Once again, if we log in, then when we click it, it verifies that we're logged in for 10 seconds, and then it will redirect us to the login page once the session has expired. Okay, so we're just going to take a quick look at the code in the Chrome extension. So all the code is in this background.js. So whenever the user clicks the icon, it will call this activate app, which then tries to verify the token. And if it's a success, it starts the app. Otherwise, it opens up the login page and requests that the user log in. So we use this verify token function to authorize the user, and this calls, like mentioned earlier, this DJ REST user view. One of the keys here is to include credentials, which will include the session ID cookie in the header. And yeah, so here, if the token is valid, then it sends a valid response from verify token. Otherwise, it will reject the promise, and it will send an error back to activate app, which then opens up the login page. So that's pretty much it. If you have any questions on how you can implement this in your app, please leave them in the comments. And happy coding. Thank you.